All right, let's get right into it. I want you to imagine for a second that there's a secret force, a kind of hidden rule book that's gripping every single cell in your body. It's a force that basically sets the speed limit for life itself. And, for the last 50 years or so, it's held biology and medicine completely hostage. This is the story of what we call Levinthal's shadow.
Now take a look at this number. Just let it sink in. 5 times 10 to the power of 47. That's the estimated number of possible shapes a single tiny little protein could theoretically twist itself into. I mean, it's a number so mind-bogglingly huge, it's bigger than the number of atoms in the entire known universe. And yet,
a protein somehow finds its one single correct shape in just a fraction of a second. How is that possible? This is the huge mystery we're unpacking today. It was first laid out by a biophysicist named Cyrus Levinthal way back in 1969. It's called Levinthal's paradox, and really, it's a question that gets to the very heart of how life can even exist at all.
What's so wild about this is just the sheer impossibility of it all. I mean, if a protein had to search for its shape randomly, it would take longer than the age of the universe to find the right one. This analogy just nails it. It is like a blindfolded climber trying to summit Everest in a few seconds. It should be a recipe for failure every single time. So how does life manage to cheat these impossible odds over and over again?
Well, it turns out life doesn't play by the rules of random chance. Nope, it evolved a secret shortcut, a really elegant solution to get around the terrifying math of this paradox. Let's take a look at how it works. The answer is a concept called the folding funnel. See, instead of a protein just wandering aimlessly through this massive landscape of possibilities, it's actually guided. A great way to think about it is like a marble rolling down the inside of a funnel. It's not a random search, it's more like a determined, guided fall toward that one single, most stable, low-energy state that's waiting right at the bottom.
And this breaks it down beautifully. It's a step-by-step process. First, the parts of the protein that absolutely hate water, we call them the hydrophobic cores, they all collapse inward, kind of like drops of oil clumping together in water. This creates a basic structure. Then, little local neighborhoods along the protein chain quickly snap into simple shapes, like spirals and sheets. And finally, the whole thing just settles into its one, precise functional form. It's a cascade, not some random walk in the park.
So the bottom line here is all about efficiency. A random search is like trying to find one specific sentence in a giant library by reading every single book cover to cover. It's impossible. The folding funnel, on the other hand, is like using the table of contents and the index to go straight to the page you need. Life, it seems, chose the smart path.
But, and there's always a but, this incredibly elegant solution has a dark side. This shortcut, this funnel, it has to be incredibly precise. And when a protein takes a wrong turn and gets stuck, well, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. This is where Levinthal's shadow truly shows its dark side.
Let's take a look at a life-or-death example, hemoglobin. It's the protein in your red blood cells. When it folds correctly, it carries oxygen around your body perfectly. But just a tiny error, a single mutation, can cause it to misfold. This misfolded version then clumps together, warping red blood cells into that classic sickle shape. These cells block blood flow, and that causes excruciating pain and organ damage. One wrong fold and it changes everything. And it's not just sickle cell, not by a long shot. So many devastating diseases are really just stories of proteins getting stuck in the wrong shape. The sticky beta-amyloid plaques in Alzheimer's, the alpha-synuclein tangles in Parkinson's, even the infectious prions that cause mad cow disease. Those are basically corrupted proteins that set off a chain reaction of misfolding in healthy ones. And even something like cystic fibrosis is caused by a misfolded protein that clogs up a critical channel in our cells. It's all about protein folding gone terribly wrong.
And just to give you an idea of how seriously your body takes this whole problem, get a load of this number. Your cells spend somewhere between 30 and 50% of their entire energy budget just on quality control. That's fixing proteins that have misfolded and destroying the ones that can't be saved. It's this massive, constant tax your body has to pay just to manage the shadow of misfolding.
So how does the cell even deal with this? Well, it has its own team of fixers, and they're called chaperone proteins. You can almost think of them as molecular masseuses. They grab onto a protein that's struggling to fold, they guide it, protect it from clumping up with others, and they give it a safe, stable environment to find its correct shape. They are biology's essential damage control crew.
For 50 years, this paradox has really defined a fundamental limit in biology. But now, we're stepping into a completely new era. We have developed a tool that can literally see through the shadow and predict the final shape. We are finally hacking the code of life itself.
You know, this has been such a long journey. It started in 1969, when Levinthal first identified this impossible problem. It then took almost 20 years for the theory of the folding funnel to even emerge as a possible answer. And then, finally, in 2020, after a full half-century of work, a breakthrough from DeepMind's AI, a system called AlphaFold, finally cracked the code.
And the impact of this has been, well, absolutely staggering. In an incredibly short amount of time, AlphaFold has predicted the structures of over 214 million proteins from all across the tree of life. This isn't just a database, it is a near-complete encyclopedia of the molecular machinery of life on Earth, from the tiniest bacteria all the way up to us. It's a resource scientists could only dream up just a few years ago.
So why does this matter so much? What's the big deal? Well, knowing a protein's shape is the key to controlling it. We can now design drugs that fit perfectly into a viral enzyme in months, not years, a capability that was absolutely vital during the COVID-19 pandemic. We can speed up the creation of vaccines for devastating illnesses like foot and mouth disease in livestock. We can even start to design custom enzymes from scratch to do things like break down plastics or fight pollution. It's a complete game changer.
And that's the real takeaway here. For decades, curing disease was like trying to fix a car engine without a blueprint. AlphaFold has given us the blueprint for nearly every single part. We're not just fighting against biology anymore, we're finally starting to speak its language, because we're overcoming the mathematical paradox that held it hostage for 50 long years.
But, the quest isn't over. Not at all. AlphaFold has given us the static, final picture of these proteins. But proteins aren't static. They move, they breathe, they change shape as they do their jobs. The shadow of folding still lurks in these dynamics, in the way they move. Understanding that movement, that's the next great frontier. And just maybe, that's the challenge for the next generation of scientists, for your generation, to solve.